you tired of the daily hustle and bustle, the endless traffic just to get your little one to a good school? GMS Snap Bingo offers a unique blend of academic excellence with a holistic child development in both nursery and primary. We provide a national curriculum with an international touch. Enroll your child today by visiting our campus along Trinity College, Dabigo Road. GMS Snap Bingo, where every child's potential is a reality. Because we care.
Welcome to Second Take with IDK. My name is Meboke Virunji, and glad you have been able to join us for yet again another episode of thoughts, ideas, things to tickle your brain. Isma Dakaba Chigongo, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very good. I hope you're also doing fine. And also to our viewers and listeners, glad you could join us.
How are you feeling? Feeling, not F-E-E-L, but F-I-L-L-I-N-G. How are you feeling your days now? There's no football, there's no job.
The job is the bigger worry. I think we are used to this period of the year. And even when there's no football, there's a lot of sport. There's always sport. I'd be sad if it's only football that I had to watch. And now that there isn't a lot of it, but I know even for those who watch only their Arsenal, their Manchester United, have something football-like that fills up their time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always sport that never stops. Yeah. I know. For example, this week, India in Zimbabwe for T20 international series. They've just lost. India have just lost in Ireland and England. There's also an ongoing series between West Indies and who have they been playing? Sri Lanka. Then there's a lot of cricket. There's always golf on Thursday night to Sunday night, or the PGA Tour. So there's always sport, I think, for me throughout there. Even on days when people think there isn't sport to watch. For example, around Christmas, that's on Christmas Day, when you're satisfied with your turkey. At least the Egyptian League is on. Yeah, there'll be a game that there'll be a game somewhere. So there's always sport. The bigger worry right now is that I have more time than I want, more time than I desire, because Nation Media Group remains under lockdown. After it was shut down by government.
And there's still army people. I passed by recently on Speak Road.
Since June 28th, the night that June 28th into 29th, we've been closed. Hopefully this lockdown ends very soon so that people can get back to their day jobs and earn their bread. Yeah, that's for me the much bigger worry. And for some who are colleagues, who are parents, I imagine a month from now children will be getting holidays on the Ugandan school calendar. Then thereafter they are supposed to return to school and the job. Sometimes I imagine these things and feel sorry for many of us in this kind of job. And most of the journalists in Uganda are freelancers who earn off every story, every work they bring in. So they've not written any story or edited any story for television, for NTV and Daily Monitor, or Dembe FM or KFM or Spark TV. So they've not worked, so they've not earned a penny for a month. And then the logic I would never get, just because I'm an economist. Maybe I only view things from the side of economics and now journalism. Maybe I also need to see them through the prism of politics. Maybe I would understand. But I totally do not understand why we are currently closed for this long.
Well, some greetings. I've got greetings from Maureen. She says she's from the Political Forum. I don't know what that is, political platform. And then I met a lady called Osaka.
I know the platform. It's a WhatsApp group where people discuss politics from morning to evening.
And I also met a lady called Osaka. She was working in a supermarket.
Angela.
She didn't tell me her first name.
Angel, yeah. I know her. I haven't met her, but at least I know she's a viewer, a listener. First interacted with her when she called into KFM. She loves her tennis, yeah, and she told me about her love for tennis.
Is that why she's called Osaka?
Yeah. So, and she had not had people discuss women's tennis as good as I would, yeah. So she said she started to listen to me because I could discuss and totally understand the detail of these players, their careers, their strength on the court and weaknesses and their stories. Yeah. So she decided to start listening. So Angel, I'm glad you're on the show. I saw know she was selling some sports equipment, jerseys and all. Yeah, somewhere that side of Mtinda. So if she since moved to another place, glad for her.
Okay, you started by talking about politics, and I think we can begin from there because politics and sport, as we saw with Infantino and Trump, they're somehow intertwined. So we'll start by talking about the CAF president, Mr. Patrice Motsepe, who held a media briefing earlier this week. Now, surprise, surprise, or maybe not a surprise for us, or it shouldn't be a surprise, he is not asking for a third Chisanja. He says come 2029, no one is going to be able to convince him. He says he was convinced to stand again. As Ugandan politicians say, oh, I wanted to go and stay with my people. Patrice Motsepe has said he is not going to stand again. Are you surprised?
Yeah, pleasantly surprised. Because it's not the norm here.
It's not the norm, no.
Yeah, but when you've been as successful in business as he has, and he's not known for his sports administration acumen, and we all know he's not really earning out of sport, because there's a year or two ago, they published books of CAF, and there wasn't a clause for the cost of travel of the CAF president, who flies in a private jet across Africa. And when they were asked, the then General Secretary, I think, Veron, who has since moved on and is now a Congolese DR Congo FA president, and he said that the CAF president does not pick money out of the jar for his travel.
In a private jet.
In a private jet. So that's a level of where he is. So I was pleasantly surprised that he's walking away, because it doesn't seem like there's a challenge to him. And he's looked like over the past few years he's worked to entrench himself in that position. Remember when he first came into this office, he wasn't the preferred choice for many of the African FA presidents. In the aftermath of Ahmad, the gentleman from Madagascar, who was pushed out through a FIFA inquiry into inappropriate behavior at CAF, financial mismanagement, many African FA presidents, including Uganda's Moses Magogo, had been backing Ahmed Yahya. I think Ahmed Yahya is the FA president of Mauritania, because many of the FA presidents felt he has knowledge about the challenges they go through running federations across Africa. And Ahmed Yahya seemed destined to become CAF president at the time, until there was a compromise that also required the FIFA president, Gianni Infantino, to come in and get involved in meeting FA presidents and convincing Ahmed Yahya to step down and set off an appointment as the vice president of CAF, and also become one of the 6 FIFA Council members, because the FIFA Council is the top organ in football. It has 24 members who make the decisions on behalf of FIFA, and Africa has 6 slots. And Ahmed Yahya was convinced to step away and go to that office, which office also comes with a lot of perks. It comes with a lot of money that you're funded to inspect and do FIFA work across the year. Some reports indicate that figure could be as low as $300,000 a year, or as high as $600,000 in a year, depending on the kind of programs that someone has been able to set up. So that's the manner in which Patrice Motsepe came into the seat. a negotiation that forced Ahmed Yahya not to stand.
Yeah.
And then Patrice Motsepe came in as the candidate for FIFA, the one that Gianni Infantino preferred. So he's never really got, I think, the endorsement of the entire continent. But during his time in office, there are things that he's doing to ensure that by the time he walks away, there is a legacy that people will look back on and say, this is what he's done. You can start with the basics of increased prize money for all African competitions, including this week where they announced that there will be $2 million for the winners of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. And there's also been a lot of negotiation between CAF and FIFA that has enabled Africa to get more slots, to get more money through the FIFA Forward program, and also for personal benefit. Every FA president now receives $50,000 from CAF as compensation for their work throughout the year. So the things he's done have looked like things where he wants to entrench himself. So I was very surprised that he's decided not to stand at the next election. That is going to feel a bit new. I've also had a rumor from journalism platforms that his biggest backers are walking away because his biggest backers have been Morocco. And Morocco are no longer going to back him. That helicopter and this show. A bit like Siamese twins. Whenever we are shooting, then it comes. Yeah. This time it's a UPDF helicopter. I always give our viewers an update of the color. Yeah. Sometimes it's red, others it's grey. This is a UPDF helicopter. I'm a green. So, where was I with Motsepe?
Morocco.
Yeah. Yes. There's reports that Morocco have withdrawn their support. Morocco have been a very influential figure in African football across so many of the federations, who also have to take their teams to Morocco to host their games when they've not had stadiums. And I've heard that Morocco have withdrawn their support for him, and they're actively going to support someone else for the office of CAF president. This also comes at a time when there are reports in North Africa that indicate that the current Moroccan FA president, Fuzilehia, or Fauzilekja, if you read the name that way, that Fuzi is walking away from the FA presidency in September of this year. And he's joining politics and is going to stand in the next general election in Morocco and perhaps join parliament and try to be prime minister, whatever else comes with that. So there's so many things that are going on in the boardroom that for the ordinary person may not have an interest, but they have an impact. Yeah, they have a very huge impact on the way the game is run. And seeing Motsepe walk away, for me, like I started, pleasantly surprised.
Will CAF be able to maintain that? Because you've just mentioned clearly that his personal backing, he has increased prize money. Will they be able to maintain that standard?
Only time will tell. It's very difficult at this point in time because even the money they are giving away in prize money does not come out of his farm in Rakitura, somewhere in Gauteng in South Africa, or does not come out of his mineral companies, because he's a very big investor in platinum and gold in South Africa, one of the biggest, in fact, and one of the biggest South Africans. What CAF have sold currently is that they've sold a lot more TV rights and have attracted better sponsors and more sponsors to their events, and that's why they're able to funnel out the kind of money that they are giving federations now and teams that are participating in CAF competitions. That's one way to look at it. The one thing that you lose when you lose someone like Motsepe is that because he's very rich, if he wanted to meet the CEO of Microsoft or Google or Total or an AI company, which are now the biggest, or Lenovo, which have invested heavily, is that they are more willing to meet him because a quick search by their secretary is going to tell them of a South African philanthropist who is one of the richest people in Africa. It's a bit like if a Dangote reached out and wanted to meet a president, the richest Nigerian, they are going to be more willing to do that. What comes with him is that clout. Now the challenge that CAF are going to face without someone with the CV and repertoire of Motsepe does the next person command the same kind of respect from the biggest investors, from the biggest CEOs across the world?
Yeah.
For me, that's a challenge. And you either create it with a very proper management system that people want to, for example, today people may want to associate with the Premier League, not because of an individual, but because they've built a very strong system and a very strong brand. Can CAF build and maintain a brand that big, that keeps attracting the kind of people, some of whom have been attracted to the game because they are sitting across the table and they are talking to a fellow billionaire? Yeah, because the next CAF president may not be a billionaire. Do they have just someone with the same aura or the same kind of success in the corporate world or in management or something that is going to be someone like, I've also seen a story that they are trying to appoint, I think, a general secretary on a permanent basis. Remember Veron, who was a classmate of Gianni Infantino, the Swiss Congolese FA president, now left the seat after a bit of controversy. He had supposed to have retired. The CAF constitution says the general secretary will serve until the age of 60, and he clocked 60 and continued to stay in office until there was an uproar from a group of journalists, and eventually he left. So they appointed Samson Amadou as the acting general secretary and then announced the position. And the reports indicate that over 200 people applied for that position of CAF general secretary, which is the most powerful position in terms of administration at CAF, below the president. And the shortlist has 5. And luckily, Samson Adamu, who is the current acting general secretary, is on that list. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of change at CAF over the next few years, right, even before we get to 2029 when Motsepe does hang his boots or his suit or cufflinks.
So they have already opened the bidding for the next 2 sessions, and we're seeing a group from, is it the Sahel region? I think they're calling it Sahel something. The Sahel states, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, similar to the Pamoja bid. So is single country hosting, dead and buried?
Over the years, I think it's going to be dead and buried. The cost of hosting these tournaments has gone up very high. And many citizens of many countries do not see the value that they create, especially in the short term. In every country I've been, with the exception of Japan, there's always complaints about the government is investing in a luxury like sport and not investing in the other human resource sectors that the country would need more. If it's hospitals, if it's a cost of living, even in a country like Morocco, that is a middle income country. I also saw people who have complained about the government approach in investing in sport. While we admire what Morocco has done,
there were riots.
Some of the locals do not appreciate that. So after the Pamoja, which CAF is expanding to 28 teams, when Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania do host the 2027 AFCON, CAF has almost set a precedent that they can actually do a 3-team AFCON. So the countries you mentioned, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, aren't too far off if they choose to go that route. Remember, Burkina Faso have a lot of experience, hosted the AFCON in 1998. Then I think also Mali have hosted before. I remember that famous headline on the New Vision cover of Edgar Watson when he was captain of the national team. I think the 2002 AFCON was held in Mali, and the headline was, Mali, here we come. At the time, Uganda were very close to qualifying for the AFCON, and there was a huge headline. Eventually, Uganda did not qualify for Mali 2002 and did not qualify until 2017 when the AFCON was held in Gabon. But for me, it's entirely about the cost. If the cost is $90 million like it is in terms of the money that Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania have had to pay to the CAF Secretariat, then you split that up and have each country pay $30 million. Makes a lot of economic sense, I think, in terms of co-hosting. And CAF are now, those teams are bidding to host, those countries are bidding to host the 2028 AFCON. Then there's also the 2032 edition. So there are not many countries that are able now, with all the demands of society that are growing. Countries are not willing to invest all their money in just hosting one tournament if they could cut the cost by partnering with another, makes for me a lot of
sense.
economic sense.
In his media briefing, he did say there is good progress being made in Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Are you confident? We are now left with, it's under a year, well, about a year. Are you confident?
I've listened and attended several press conferences addressed by Patrice Motsepe. One of the things that he does very well is that if he chooses to stop being a billionaire and becomes employed, I think I would hire him to be my publicist. He's a brilliant public relations person. He speaks and responds to questions without causing any kind of controversy. He's brilliant. He's brilliant when he speaks. And he's been one of the biggest backers of this region. When Africa has been accusing this region of not being ready for the AFCON, including that question raised by the Ivorian journalist Mamadou Gueye during the closing press conference of the AFCON that we attended in Morocco. When Mamadou Gueye raised that issue of needing an entire day to travel between one East African country to another, Motsepe came out to defend. And all of us, you Ghanaian journalists, laughed at him, but actually it's the truth. If you left this country and were going to Dar es Salaam through Namanga border in Kenya, you travel from this place and then get to the border crossing in Kenya to get into Tanzania, and then you spend the night there. Then you can only travel in the morning because Tanzania does not allow
night
travel for public transport. So those are some of those things that they've raised. We all know the challenges that CAF have raised. We've done those in several shows on this forum. Nambole is still under construction. Hoima has issues that have to be sorted. I saw National Water the other week before Nation Media Group was closed, handing out contracts to people to work on the water facilities in Hoima. There was a launch for the upgrade of Hoima General Hospital. All those things are not yet done. The construction of the passenger terminal at the Kabalega International Airport is open to wild guess whether it's started and how soon it will be complete. But at least government has provided the resources. So Motsepe is aware of these things that are happening. He knows we are not yet ready. But while the rest of Africa and maybe have raised the issue that this region will not be ready, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania will not be ready, he's been the biggest supporter of Pamoja. I actually sometimes feel if it wasn't for Motsepe, the AFCON would have been withdrawn from this region.
Because of where we are.
He made a commitment and said this is the only place in Africa where we've never hosted the AFCON, so let's host. And he's backed Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania from the onset, and that's not going to change.
Yeah. I don't know about these African heavyweights, Morocco, Egypt. I don't know if it's them being greedy, but they have asked for more slots for the Confederation, for the Champions League, because
the
I
club
think
competitions.
Club competitions, yeah. Where does that leave smaller countries? Will they ever get an opportunity to develop? And maybe, as you answer that, you can talk about the approved stadiums.
We'll
or
get
lack
to that.
of approved stadiums.
We'll get to that. That's a totally different topic. You shouldn't confuse it with...
No, but I'm talking about it because some of these clubs may not have the resources. You need something. I think, okay, in my mind, it's like a chicken and egg, one of those. Anyway, yeah, you start.
The chicken came first. That I've always insisted. The chicken came first because I'm more likely to eat chicken than I'll eat an egg. Yeah, so I have to be biased and pick what I have access to more often. CAF have so far failed to have a clear idea now they are going to expand the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup.
Yeah.
And also improve its competitiveness, because over the so many years, with the exception of Mamelodi Sundowns, it's only the teams in the north that win. Algeria, Morocco, Egypt. Those are the countries, and then Tunisia. They are the ones that are competitive, or they are the ones that win. So they've been caught in a very difficult situation. And why Motsepe was responding to that at that press conference was the mere fact that Morocco and Egypt have already written to CAF and asked for more slots, like you state. through the seeding program. The same way, I don't find it very weird, yeah, if they were given more slots. After all, in Europe they have. England already has the 4 guaranteed slots. Then eventually, you saw with the Champions League last season, England had 7 slots. And the smaller nations had 1. Some even had the one that had to go through into the qualifiers. A team like Bate Borisov of Belarus have only qualified, I think, for the group stage of the Champions League once. Yet they go on to dominate their league, yeah, in Belarus. So it's a global trend of things. The teams that are doing well, you give them more, and then you allow even the smaller countries to gain, because the ranking system that all these confederations use is very similar. It's about how well your teams perform. The more you perform, the better, the more slots you'll get. The same way Tanzania used to be at the same level as we are, with 1 slot on the CAF Champions League for only the winners. But because of the excellence of Young and Simba, they've since earned more slots at, on the table of men. And we're once there. Villa played the Champions League final in 1991. Express played the Champions League semi-final in 1995. KCC played the semi-finals of the Cup Winners' Cup, the CAF Cup Winners' Cup in 1997. Eventually lost on away goals rule to AFC Leopards. There's enough case studies of how other, even CAFs of other confederations have done it. There was a time when the Champions League and Confederations Cup group stages were only 8 teams. They've since raised that to 16 for both competitions. And Motsepe was talking about this will be handled at a General Assembly. I think it's going to happen in Nigeria. They could raise the number of teams in the CAF Confederations Cup and the Champions League to 24 teams to allow more teams get in. And when you do that, if you're going to hand Uganda an extra slot, then you just have to do the same for Morocco and Egypt. I think it's a no-brainer for me. Okay,
but you hand them an extra slot, they get more money, they're able to build a facility. So that's where I was coming from. Improve their facility.
Unfortunately, and I've had the opportunity to travel to these countries, there is hardly clubs in Africa that are able to build their own sporting facilities. Some facilities are built by government across this continent. And one of them that is a classic example is Egypt. I do not remember interacting with a stadium in Egypt that wasn't built by the UPDF of Egypt. Yeah, by the army. That's where we need to go. Eventually, for me, it's not even about the stadiums. For me, it's about the trickle-down effect.
Okay, yeah.
The trickle-down effect, that the more clubs at the top have money, the more they are going to buy from the lower clubs. If Mamelodi Sundowns have more money, they are going to buy from Simba. Then Simba can buy from Coastal Union or Singida or whatever other clubs in Mbeya City. And that's how the trickle-down effect of the football economy works. Vipers, in our case, Vipers have money. Then they are going to buy from
KCC,
KCC is right around the same. It's not a second tier in terms. They are going to buy players from Kitara. Kitara will go and buy players from the lower division. I think that's how the football financial pyramid works. United, Manchester United, Arsenal have money. They go and buy from Aston Villa. Aston Villa go and buy from Charlton. That's how it works. That's that now in England it's become so balanced because they've generated a lot of money over a long period of time that some players that Arsenal might want, Villa might want them, and Villa might even be willing to pay more money. That's how, for me, the sporting pyramid works globally. Okay,
so where does that leave us? Because this week we saw CAF and FIFA approved stadiums. Some clubs, FIFA, locally here now, talking about Uganda. They put out a list, and some clubs, I went to Bugonga Fisheries Ground in Entebbe, one of the few I have visited, and I was sad that it doesn't qualify.
When you're there, did it pass? Do you think it passes from your assessment? From your ignorant assessment?
Exactly, from my ignorant assessment, there were not enough places for people to sit.
Dressing room? Was the ground even?
The ground was even. The grass was green. There were chairs at the side.
Now it has bare patches.
But so are you saying governments are supposed to build?
No. They're supposed to build stadiums. Lira, Nambole, Hoima, KCC, URI promised us a stadium many years ago when Doris Akol was Commissioner General, somewhere in Gayaza. It's never taken off. But that for me is not even the solution. A fortnight ago, FUFA invited several media to a meeting where we're supposed to learn about the club licensing requirements. And under that club licensing document, there are several layers of what clubs are supposed to do. One of them is the grounds. There is also an issue with coaches where the coach and assistant have to have a CAF A. Currently, some coaches are in Injeru, have been studying to get that CAF A licensing. Because when FIFA first introduced this and said the head coach must be CAF A, what most clubs did, including Kitara, their coach who did not have a CAF A moved to being assistant, and then they brought in someone with a CAF A who did not have the power over the team. So FIFA went back and said, okay, both coaches must have a CAF A license, so they are in school. CEOs have to have a Famako, you must have a junior team, or attached to one, you must partner with the women's team. Then there was a very interesting one, where the CEO of a club must be a signatory to the club account. At least a co-signatory. And then I imagine many of the clubs here are run and owned by the club president, or what the person we call manager. Actually, when you go to a Ugandan club, look around for someone they are calling manager or president. So the rest are irrelevant. So now FUFA are trying to empower the CEO and saying the CEO must be a signatory to the club accounts. They've also been doing AGMs for these clubs where FUFA have had to attend. And this stadium is just a small part of the licensing. And when I was reading the licensing document, why these stadiums did not pass, most of them, paragraph 1 starts with bare patches on the pitch. The others go on with the benches and the positioning of those benches. The others go on with the dressing room areas not being sufficient or not being existent. In the case of KCCA, which was the biggest story of all the clubs that failed to pass, the MTN Omondi was found to be lacking on 3 areas: the technical area for the coaches, and then the lighting. According to the grading, I'm not an engineer, an expert on lighting, but I also know when I go to Lugo, the lighting is not very good. The lux, the measurement of lighting is in lux, LUX, and they had found that it was only measuring 503 lux. Yet the bare minimum is supposed to be 800 lux for people to be able to play football, and there aren't shadows on players. And then the other one is about the nature of the carpet. The AstroTurf that is in Logogo, that we've all know has degenerated over a long period of time. It was purchased more than 10 years ago, so it needs a bit of an upgrade. We also know, for example, in the case of FUFA, the Injeru Technical Center, they've had the same issue, and eventually they've had to sort that out. They put a new turf. But there's a time when all of us would complain about the turf in Injeru, but Bull were licensed to play there, despite a very terrible turf, and it was changed. Now KC have to change that. That would cost them anywhere close to $300,000. And being a government institution, it has to be passed in City Hall and then put into a budget and all. It's for me a potato situation, that FUFA knows some of its challenges. And not that when they went to inspect these stadiums and found that clubs lack these things, they were shocked. They knew when they were going there that these were going to be some of the challenges they are going to face, because they totally understand the shortfalls of our club football and where these clubs are. Especially for me, the clubs that are just coming out of the lower division. We all knew that they will not have these stadiums. I was actually going to be shocked if, for example, the stadium where Chigezi Homeboys play their football in Kabale, Al-Madina, if it would pass. If it had passed, then I would know FUFA were wrong. So there is all these challenges that we are all aware of. And to just sit down and order, we need, I think, to come together as a football public, as administrators, as club owners, as club managers, to find a way to mitigate and help these clubs improve over a period of time. And what shocks me about when these clubs now are going to go out in some of the media forums and forums like this and complain and whine and attack FUFA for this, is that these club licensing requirements have been around for a very long time. And these clubs are made aware of this way before the license actually happens, to the extent that before these stadiums were not passed in July, FUFA sends out a licensing document in March or April, and clubs have about 4 months to either plant grass or to work out. Because I was looking at some of the things that the stadiums lack, are largely bare patches on the pitch, and others are dressing room areas. I saw one, for example, in Bombo. Bombo is one of the most difficult grounds to go to. First of all, access. You get there, and the UPDF soldiers at the gate are not told about civilians who are coming to watch football, and they almost see you as an intruder. And you know, a barracks is not public property. It's trespass. Yeah. Remember, for those who have lived as long as I am, the Daily Monitor was in trouble back in 1997 for publishing a picture of a lady allegedly called Candida Lacon, who was being shaved, who was allegedly being shaved by UPDF soldiers, including the inside the 4th Division barracks in Gulu. Yeah? And what, if you remember what Monitor was being charged for at the time, they weren't being charged for the photo per se, they are being charged for illegal access of the 4th Division headquarters in Gulu. They're actually being charged for trespass. To how did they get into a barracks to take that kind of picture? So you go to Bombo, and there's a struggle. If you've been there in the recent past, they had a pit latrine that was full. So if you're going to Bombo to watch a game of football, you make sure you sort out yourself for the period of heading to Bombo and after. You do not need to use a toilet. Those have been some of the challenges, and some of the challenges that FIFA raised in those documents. Yeah. Uneven playing surfaces. If you go to, even if you are the home team, wouldn't you be helped if if the playing ground is even? Wouldn't the football be better? Is that even rocket science to have an uneven playing surface? So some of these challenges, I could blame the clubs, and I've always blamed the clubs for not asserting their power, because if they did, they would be dealing some of these challenges internally and be able to generate the kind of resources to run these stadiums better. But I think it's a multifaceted problem where FIFA need to help these clubs, and these clubs also need to help themselves, because we've been here before. Every season there is a stadium that is not passed. We've seen Mbarara moved out of Kacheka and forced to play in Kamwenge at Ramaja. We've seen Mbarara City play their games at Wakisha and Kavumba before. We've seen, for the time I've lived, Villa have never had a home. The most successful club in Uganda with 17 league titles are Nomads. Yeah, they've been at Nambole, they've been in Masaka, they played in Mitiana. Recently they were playing at Kadiba, they played in Wankuruku, now they're back at Wankurukuku. There has to be a system, a deliberate system, to enable these clubs acquire either grounds or even to maintain them better for those that have them, even those that are sharing. Yeah, they need to find a way.
Okay, let's move on to basketball, because they also, in a way, have some similar issues, I think, with the smaller clubs. But yeah, let's talk about the playoffs.
We've moved considerably. I was on this show, and last week I spoke about how I do not fancy the 8-team playoffs, because I think there are so many poor teams. I need to pull out my fixture so that I can be able. Oh, someone was calling me from Washington. I'll respond to that later. Yeah, I'd put my phone, because I know I don't want to distract myself with the phone during the show. That's why I normally only pull it out when I need to confirm something major. But
the smaller teams do not have, is it the discipline, or they just can't manage the
the league here is the basketball league in Uganda is managed in a very, I don't want to call it weird, but it has a system that attracts a lot of university teams, but does not also consider them in the league as university teams. They're actually considered as clubs, not universities. So the schedule does not ease off because they're having coursework or busy time of a semester, or they're in holidays. The schedule is constant. And for me, that has always been a challenge. And which are the big teams in Ugandan basketball? Because over the years they've changed. When I was growing up, there was Charging Rhino. Who knows where Charging Rhino is? Then there was Falcons. Then Power.
Yeah, Falcons.
Now they play in lower division. There is Warriors, who no one knows where it is, unless you find Ambrose Tashobia. Yeah? And even he does not have a consistent answer of where Warriors is at this point in time. So they aren't really small and bigger teams. I think it's just a cycle. Now, we can't talk City Oilers and Namongo Blazers, but we cannot also not confidently say that we know where they will be 20 years from now. because like I've stated, the cycle keeps on changing.
Yeah.
The clubs keep on coming and going every now and then. But after the 18 playoffs, now we are into the semi-finals. In one half of a draw, the Namwongo Blazers are battering UCU. UCU, for whom their coach, the UCU Cannons and the Lady Cannons, but I'm talking about the UCU Cannons for now. Their coach, Nicholas Natuhereza, is away.
Yeah.
Is in Glasgow with the national 3x3 team for the basketball, for the women, that is going to be playing at the Commonwealth Games. So he won't be here. And the men's team lost very many on very few, 89-62. Then the girls team, which is the UCU Lady Cannons, were able to beat KCCA Leopards 79-71. Yeah, that's where we are with the first games that have been played in the playoffs. But like I've stated all season on this show, that the way the league is and the strength and weaknesses of these teams, it's wired to climax into a final between City Oilers and Namwongo Blazers. For the women, we could actually change that. But now, in the quarterfinals, they still a lot of teams. They still a lot of teams now that we're in the quarterfinals. Yeah, I don't know, Mr. consider that it's semi-finals. Yeah, but now it's an 8-team quarterfinals, so there's going to be a lot of very many on very few. For example, when the City Oilers play the KCCA Panthers, that will be that kind of result. The JT Jaguars, for example, for the women, will wipe the floor with the JK Lady Dolphins because they've actually already done that. Now they have to play against the JT Jaguars play the Magic Stormers. That's in the women's half of a draw. Then the City Oilers have played the Res Life Saints, yeah, in some of those fixtures. So I really hope the real basketball starts when the semi-finals come around.
Okay. Because
then you'll have closer games, and you'll have a lot more competitive games that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Maybe if Nicholas Natuhereza was on that bench, UCU Cannons would compete better, but I'll still pick Namwongo Blazers to beat them. Yeah? Those are the semi-finals, yeah, for those ones. Because some of the fixtures, you'll go back and some are quarters, some are semi-finals. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'd made a mistake again. Oh my God, am I getting tired or old? Yeah, they are all in the semi-finals, because I'm seeing there is Res Life. Okay, this is the fixture had gone far back to 10th of July. Yeah, 24th. That's where we are. JT Jaguars against the Stormers, and then City Oilers against the Res Life Saints. Then on Sunday, is the game 2 for the Leopards and the UC Lady Cannons. Yeah, but still, even here, like I've stated, if Natuhereza is not on that bench, the Cannons are not going to compete, because UC is a team that is structured around plays around. Yeah, it's a structure that is entirely run on the auspices or the intelligence or lack of it of Natuhereza. And now that he's away in Glasgow, big struggle.
Let's talk about Formula One, which is happening in Hungary this time. But maybe we can start with Max Verstappen, who has lost a race engineer. Someone has left. Do you think Max has he checked out? He's 7th in the rankings.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't.
Still
brilliant driver.
Still has a chance.
He has complained. No, he's not going to win the championship this year. But he's a brilliant driver. To say he's checked out, I think, would be a bit extreme. He's warned this year that he might walk away from Formula One for good. And because he felt the rules were unfair, but he was never going to walk out. Inevitably, I see him one day racing in that red car with a ranching horse, joining Ferrari one day, or at least Mercedes. Yeah, inevitably, I think he'll end up there. The former world champion. I don't think he'll win this year. One of the things that I'm struggling with, and I always watch that advert on SuperSport. You think you know Formula One? Think again. Yeah, in that voice. One of the things I've learned, I got to a point where I stopped occupying myself with the technical things about Formula One, because it takes away the understanding of how good some of these drivers are. you almost sense that it's machine versus machine. But actually, in Formula One, you can win a championship with a very good driver in a good machine, but you cannot win a championship with a bad driver in a good machine. So sometimes when the discussions, and I see a lot of rules and people are engrossed in trying to understand them, I excused myself from understanding the rules because I want to enjoy the racing. Because when you see a driver as Kimi Antonelli, you're reminded about the first time you saw Max Verstappen racing, when Formula One needed to apply for special driving permits to allow him race in some certain countries, especially in the Gulf, where he wasn't yet 18 and wasn't allowed to race. And Kimi Antonelli is in that bracket. Now he's leading the Formula One World Championship. And then you have to discuss all the other things that have happened, the mass dampers, all these rule changes. Sometimes they can make Formula One very, very boring if you're not interested in the science or in how Boeing is built or Airbus. Yeah? All you know about a flight is for you to take a holiday in Dubai, or you're hoping to take a holiday one day when the resources allow. Then you get to listen to Formula One, and then they're discussing things for which, even if you get a second lifetime from God, you'll never be able to understand them.
I actually had a question for you, and I'll read it. Ferrari is introducing their high downforce Macarena rear wing this weekend, specifically for Budapest's low speed corners.
Can you imagine?
Is this upgrade enough for Hamilton to close the gap on Antonelli, or is it a little too late? Is that too technical, or should we?
It's also very technical. I think for the person watching, they just want to see Hamilton win. I think Ferrari have done a very good job with their car to get back in the picture of competing, Hamilton and Leclerc. I think eventually the championship will go to a Mercedes driver. I think Kimi Antonelli has, not like has done enough yet, he still has to compete. And I saw George Russell's car go up in, fail at in Belgium in the previous weekend, his teammate. I think every kind of advantage that Ferrari can find for Lewis Hamilton to keep him interested in winning the championship is welcome. Maybe this is going to allow him going to corners and not have to lose a lot of speed. Because there's always the discussion in Formula 1 is always about straight line speed and then the speed through the corners. That's where Ferrari are trying to gain an advantage for Lewis Hamilton. I think he's still in with a chance for the championship, but needs to convert podiums into victories. For me, that's the next challenge. Needs to win races if he's going to be able to close that gap on Kimi Antonelli.
I actually forgot to ask you, sorry to take you back to basketball, but Miami Heat accidentally leaked, I don't know if it was an accident or not, a YouTube link.
They've apologized. So
was it accidental?
They said it was a mistake.
Now, why, and LeBron James has taken so long, is he actually still weighing his options, or he's waiting? I read somewhere he's waiting for Anthony Davis and to see where he goes.
Wow, isn't he called a ring hunter? Yeah, because LeBron James has been accused of running to where he thinks he can win and can't set up his own team. Anyway, it's a big decision that will come up, I think, in the NBA. And LeBron James and his team, the team around him, some of him is childhood friends, then the former Lakers guard, Rich Paul, who is his agent and manager at Clutch Sports Entertainment, I think know how to hold the world at ransom. They need or the NBA at ransom. They know how to market and handle the PR around this decision. When he made that decision to go to Miami, I remember in 2011, still they held the world, they made the world hold its breath before he made the announcement live on ESPN. We are going with the same route at this point. His adoptions, Miami Heat, the media team say they made a mistake because they've been preparing content, the media team, of a possible announcement of LeBron return. Remember, he played there for 4 seasons. From 2011, 2015, before he left and won 2 championships alongside Chris Bosh and D Wade. And they have been preparing that kind of content in case he returns. They say they made a mistake. I want to believe they are honest with that. He's also had options to go to the Golden State Warriors and play with Steph Curry. Miami Heat have signed Giannis Antetokounmpo in the hope that the man who led The Milwaukee Bucks, their first championship in 50 years, will end the drought in Miami. There's been an option for the Philadelphia 76ers, who already signed Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics and also have Joel Embiid on that roster, and then Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. Yeah, the second draft from the second overall pick from the draft in 2025. So he has left his cards wide open from the time he announced that he's leaving the Lakers after 8 years. I hope the decision comes sooner. I'm not one of those who is holding my breath, because I think wherever he goes, that team has to have a lot of other pieces for LeBron to win. On his own, I don't think he can still do it at 41. He's got to set up a kind of environment and team that is going to carry a lot of the heavy lifting and leave a small weight for LeBron to carry if he's going to win another championship that he craves.
Okay. And the Commonwealth Games begin today in Glasgow. It's actually very compressed. And I'm wondering, does that benefit Uganda being higher on the medals table? Medal hopes have been slashed greatly because of games like hockey. I think even badminton is out. Yeah, so Uganda, are we very hopeful with this compressed Commonwealth?
I'm not very sure that is the word I want to use, hopeful. No. I think for me, Commonwealth is an opportunity for players to expose their talent. We do not have a lot of opportunities as a country to have our players compete against the rest of the world. The Commonwealth Games give them that kind of platform. That's all that I see, because Uganda has won over 50 medals at the Commonwealth Games. Have those changed the trajectory of sport significantly? Except for the few individuals, Marceline Chelangat, Stella Chesang, okay, you could go back in the early 90s, they changed the trajectory of life for Justin Duke and Godfrey Nyakana. Then much later, Joshua Cheptegei and Jacob Kiplimo. Their lives changed in the win after winning those Commonwealth medals. So for me, the games remained a platform for athletes to expose their talent, not necessarily with the number of medals they are going to win. If they win, bonus. After all, government is paying 100 million shillings per gold. If someone wins and gets the gold, that 100 million can change the lives of many Ugandans, perhaps 99.9% of Ugandans. 100 million could make them rich, the richest in their family or their clan. If they got that kind of, they got their kind of resources. I'd really be clapping for that the games have been compressed and will give Uganda a chance. If Uganda had an absolute advantage in a certain sport, and what sport could that be? Because the athletics people are going are largely new names. It's not Cheptegei or Kiplimo. Maybe there's Peruth Chemtai. Boxing has not been very competitive at this stage for a very, very long time. So Kemis Ibrahim and his crew have a lot of work ahead of themselves for them to get boxing back to that level when Justin Duke and Nyakana won medals at the games held in Auckland at the start of the 90s. I wish Uganda had a comparative advantage that now you've cut out, and now since you've left these sports, judo, for example, judo will be competing. Since you've left swimming, Sengons will go there and ace the entire, Jesse Sengons will be competing there. Or since they've knocked out everyone and now we have para swimming, Husna Kukundakwe and Condoleezza Nakaziwe will go and win gold in that. I don't think that's it. For me, it's a platform for these athletes to get a chance to compete on a stage bigger than where we normally compete.
And we have Diamond League later this year, don't we?
Diamond League goes on for the entire year because it's 14 events that happen. We've already raced in Doha, Shanghai, Xiamen, Rome. At the weekend, we're in London. Yeah, because it's 14 events spread out throughout there in several cities. Yeah, then you have the winner.
Sorry, I was thinking about the World Athletics or something.
Next year, 2027.
Next year. Well, we wish all the Ugandans taking part in the Commonwealth all the best. And yeah, indeed, may it be a platform. It has not been that trajectory that Isma has talked about, but we hope, you know, we can start a new page.
It doesn't attract the biggest athletes, and it's not by accident.
I know.
It's by design because the Olympics are rated higher than the World Athletics Championships. then many other events that bring in money, then the Commonwealth Games.
Well, that's all we had for you on this episode of Second Take with IDK. Keep your comments coming, your questions. There were quite a number of people talking about Argentina.
You could ask some of those. Please ask those before we walk away.
Okay.
I'll be glad to respond to some of them.
Or they were just, maybe they were just comments.
I read some of the comments, and some are very interesting, yeah?
Okay, Mbazira here says, thanks for the show. I'm surprised IDK hasn't condemned the poor sportsmanship his Argentine side showed after the game. No guard of honor, the parades and Molina incidents, very uncalled for on my side, given the fact that Argentina had crazy and provocative...
If you want morals, go to school. Sport is not morality. It's competing. It means a lot for those who win. And the guard of honor, maybe help this viewer, the guard of honor is given by the team that has won. The team that has won gives the guard of honor for the team they've beaten to go and collect their medals. I've also seen a bit of criticism online. Argentina actually decided to look away and watch their fans when Spain were receiving their medals. They decided to look away. But sport means a lot more to people than all the morality.
But now for us who are bringing up children into well-behaved human beings, we want them to behave
Let them go and compete. When they lose bakabe, let them hurt. Okay. I love this thing when people talk about fair play. But I never blame people who lose their emotions for sport. I never.
Okay, Geoffrey Twine says the Falklands banner hit a raw nerve.
Yeah.
The negative stories by sections of the British media about Messi and Argentina are relentless.
Yeah, that's what will be going on for some time. I was actually look at the actual numbers. The war was in 1982. Yeah, Falklands. 649 soldiers from Argentina died. And then there were civilians, I think 16 of them. And then several British servicemen too died during that war. It's a senseless war, by the way. If you read about the history, there is no reason why anyone was going to fight about something like that. Yeah, but I thought this meant so much for Argentina that they had to remind England that the Falklands actually are in Argentina. A bit like when you have Mijingo, Mountain Elgon here. The geopolitics is not something we want to discuss here. I recommend someone who understands the geopolitics very well. My OB, Dr. Sam Kaziwe, is on CBS every Thursday and I think Tuesday, and also on Sunday morning, 10 to 11 a.m. Please send him a question. He'll explain some of these things. He has a very good understanding of the global geopolitics, and I will send you there.
And if I can go quickly to TikTok, to some of the things, I don't know if I can find them now. I was reading them yesterday. Was it yesterday? Let me see if there are some messages here.
What was someone arguing about?
Oh, no, they were saying remembering second place team is hard. Now imagine remembering the third place team.
We'll remember it because it's England. We'll remember it because it's England. Yeah, I thought there were even more comments than that.
VAR has not made any judgment against Argentina. Discuss. And then someone, I think, was reminding you...
Who says it has to make a judgment against Argentina? Is VAR designed to make judgment against Argentina?
Someone, I think, was reminding you of a game in 2019 in the Bundesliga, Holstein versus Bochum.
Bochum.
Yeah. And then VAR check against them. Morocco, same Morocco script.
By the way, one of the things I want to help football fans with, and it's very good in the heat of the moment, Argentina shouldn't win, Messi shouldn't win a second World Cup. That I totally understand. I can promise you, in a month from now, the Premier League will be here. All the teams we support will have got a decision in their favor. All the teams we support. Just tell me one of your teams that has never got a decision in their favor or multiple decisions in their favor. If you show me one, I'll stop watching sport.
Okay, I'll end with Benzi Drew, who says rules are rules. That's why VAR is there to call out what the referee doesn't and make the game more fair.
Does it make it more fair? I think for me, the biggest challenge I have with VAR, and I've stated repeatedly, is that it still hands human beings the power to make decisions. Because when the technology was introduced in sport with Hawkeye, yeah, has the ball crossed the line or not? Goal line technology done. It's a factual thing. The next, is he offside or not? The other rules maybe I could understand is mistaken identity. Was the yellow card handed to Mebo, actually rightly handed to Mebo, or it was supposed to be Ismail's? Those I understand. Now, for me, the challenge with VAR is that even after a review, they still need an opinion of a human being. So nothing has changed, because even the decision they are giving is up to opinion of what they see, the rules, where they are standing, how they interpret the situation. So if you make a decision and then you have to go to VAR and then you allow a clause of clear and obvious error, if you want to referee the game again, because FIFA are repeatedly saying we do not want 2 referees for a game. But when you allow that, because the some people argue about are mainly with penalties.
Yeah.
If the referee has given a penalty and it's maybe it's not known wall, and then we start arguing whether it's 50-50, yeah, then you don't need the VAR at all. And I'm one of those who doesn't think VAR should go away, because I'm a proponent of VAR. But in the end, it's entirely an opinion of the referee. Decides the review, is going to come back and say, this is what I think about the decision. For me, that's a challenge.
So keep your comments coming. If you are,
and all of us are not experts by the word refereeing. The rest of us, we are not referees. The guys make the decisions, have invested their time in being refs. The rest of us are fans with biases. Messi should not win, so the VAR is wrong because Messi should not win the World Cup. He didn't win, so aren't we all happy and the world at peace now?
And I'm happy we started with Motsepe. Motsepe mentioned Atan as well, saying they're going to support him in all ways they can. So do take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Are you tired of the daily hustle and bustle, the endless traffic just to get your little one to a good school? GMS Snap Bingo offers a unique blend of academic excellence with a holistic child development in both nursery and primary. We provide a national curriculum with an international touch. Enroll your child today by visiting our campus along Trinity College, Nabigo Road. GMS Snap Bingo, where every child's potential is a reality. Because we care.